ladies and gentlemen. Here we are tonight with Glenn Ash. He may not be a household name, but he's a name that has warmed up for so many people. He had to be good because the list is very, very long. And I've welcomed you to Leisure World.
Thank you.
And I thank you for coming. I know this is going to be fun tonight.
Well,
you're a fun guy.
Thank you. This is the kind of people that I love because they can listen for more than a minute.
Oh.
You know, now, when I grew up, we told stories. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now the whole world's a one-liner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get a kid and he'll say, what? Oh, that's a joke, huh? Okay, I'm changing channels.
Television, big time, right? You were on a lot of television. I
was very lucky. Don Knotts come out to Texas and saw me working. And when the show was over, I went up and said, what'd you think of the show? He said, well, Andy would just love you. And the next thing you know, I got a ticket to come out to the Horn in Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah.
And Don brought Andy over, and Andy watched me, and he went back to his manager, Dick Link. And he said, I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it awful good. And the next thing you know, for 10 years, I was with Andy and Don and Jim Neighbors and Jerry Van Dyke and Ronnie Shell and Larry Hovis. So that was awful good company.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. Fun time?
Yeah, I wish I'd known more. I'd have took a few pictures. You know, I was just like a baby bird.
Whereabouts in Texas you from?
Dallas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You were born there?
No, I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio.
But you have this funny drawl.
Well, I got to Texas. If you go to Texas and you stay there 3 weeks, you'll become a Texan.
Is that right?
I don't care who you are, you will pick up that accent. When I got out here, kind of like yourself, I had a rotundo body. So they always was casting me as a redneck sheriff, right?
Yeah.
And with a Texas accent, it worked. I left it alone. I got on Hart to Hart by doing that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How are they to work with?
Robert Wagner has got to be the finest gentleman around.
Really?
And Stephanie Powers is just, you know, better than that.
She is gorgeous.
You can't find, if peaches and cream is the complexion, then that's what she is.
Is that right?
Yeah, and sweet to go with
Is
it.
She?
Yeah.
No airs?
Not that I saw. No, they were just there to do their job, and they were both right down to earth. You know, if somebody told a joke, they both laughed. You know, it wasn't one of those, how do you do? Remember the old W.C. Fields? And the guy says, how about a hearty handshake? Says, there you are. None of that.
You were on, golly, Mike Douglas?
Yeah.
You were with Carson?
Yeah, I went on Carson's show.
And the other fellow?
Which one?
Which one? The other one?
Was it Mike Douglas and him and
Douglas Griffin?
Oh, Merv. Yeah.
Merv? You were
Uncle
with Merv?
Arthur Treacher liked the banjo.
Is that right?
So he kept bringing me back. I don't know if Merv liked me or not. He says, but you know, says he's a very, very funny fellow, and he's self-taught. I didn't know I was self-taught. I thought I was wound up pretty tight, but not taught.
Who? I don't know if you can answer. I mean, I know you can answer it. I don't know if you will. Well, which one of those three were the easiest to work with?
Merv, golly, Merv asked good questions, right? Carson really cared.
Oh, really?
You know, when he would ask you a question, he wanted to hear the answer. You know, I found the few times that I did Carson, you know, a lot of people say, I did Carson 478 times. And you check their record, they might have been there sweeping the hall after dark, you know. But the times that I worked it, I found him sharp. You know, he knew what he was doing all the time. So he was a
likable fellow.
Likable, but a total pro, you know, from beginning to end. I mean, he didn't even move that pencil unless he knew what he was doing.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was sharp.
Well, Dinah.
Dinah's a bowl of good dessert. You know, there wasn't nothing wrong with her. Her and Loretta Lynn would have made good sisters.
Oh, really?
Well, to give you that, when you say salt of the earth or plain as salt or something like that, I was working with Loretta one night, and they'd bought her a $30,000 beaded sequin dress. It must have weighed 80 pounds, right? And she didn't weigh but about 105 herself, and they had shoes to match. She gets out there in her opening number, and she says, right in the middle of the thing, she said, stop. She says, these shoes, I don't know who made them or why they made them. She said, but my feet are killing me. Took her shoes off and worked in a $30,000 gown barefooted. That's what Dinah Shore was. There's no pretension. She just told you like it was.
That's good. That's good. On your TV list now, you have many. You were on. Well, if I had my glasses, I could tell. What you were on.
Whoever got some glasses, get over here.
I got some right here. Oh, my golly, there you are. Three's Company.
Yeah.
Highway Honeys. Now I don't remember that one at all.
That was a pilot for NBC where I played a crooked sheriff. And it was only on long enough to be preempted by a presidential speech for one time, then it went back on again, and then it went back on again late at night. I doubt if anyone saw it.
But on this, on Three Company.
I did two of them. The reason I did them was because John Ritter found out that I knew his dad. Tex, I was working Playboy clubs, and the guy who ran the room was always making fun of me because he was from New York and heavy, you know, and I was out of Texas, and he was going to give me a hard time. So we're working, and he's always sending up little notes to bother me, right? And sending up roll A cups and that. So one night I sent one to Tex Ritter's in the audience. I thought, I'll get you. So I took every tune that Tex Ritter ever had, and I just messed them up terrible, right? So I says, and here's the man that made all those songs popular, Mr. Tex Ritter is going to get him, right? Lights goes on, Tex gets up. Comes walking up there on stage, and he looks at me and says, I spent the better part of 50 years glorifying the great name of Texas. In the last 15 minutes, you just shot it all to hell. So his son heard that story and said, did you really do that? And I said, yeah, well, your dad did it. And so we got to talking, and the next thing you know, he gets me on his show.
That's great. Okay, you must have, you know, just meeting Tex must have been...
He was what you call one of these John Wayne kind of guys, you know.
Yes.
You knew that you'd better be on a straight and narrow with him. Yeah. The first thing he said to me, and I sat down after the show was over, he says, give me $10. Well, you don't argue with a guy like that. I just give him $10. He says, you're now one of the first members of the CMA Association. He started the CMA Awards, started the association. And I was one of the first guys to get in on that.
How about that?
Yeah, I didn't know it. I just give him $10.
Yeah. That's super.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
If we had 9 years, I could tell you some more.
Well, we don't have 9 years, but we have a little bit of time left.
Oh, good.
You know, so Las Vegas. Now you've been there with, good Lord, everybody. Just here's Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Loretta.
No Bing Crosby.
Here. Willie Nelson,
Sweet William.
Waylon Jennings, Eddie Arnold, the great
Eddie Arnold. Well,
talk about Eddie a minute.
Okay, Eddie and Ernie were the two of the most consummate gentlemen in 37 years that I got a chance to work with. Eddie was the kind of guy that when he walked in a room, here's a picture of Eddie. Man's in his 60s. He goes out on stage and does a 2-hour show, right? We did a lot of concerts together. Show's over, he goes and dresses and comes out and signs autographs for 3 hours. If a woman walks in the room, he's the first man on his feet. Never, no curse words. Man was a gentleman from the old school.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
100% gentleman.
Bob Hope.
Hope, there's a guy that anybody in show business could take a lesson from. No one had more discipline. No one had more know-how. Did you know he never wore a watch and he could tell you exactly what time it was, anytime, anywhere? Bob, what time is it? 10:13. Look at your watch. He's right.
No.
Always. And when the show was over, he'd come over and knock on my door and say, want to walk with me? The only way the man could get any time to be by himself was at midnight. And he'd walk down the street like a little constitutional, and he'd look in the windows of the stores. Isn't that a hell of a thing?
Talk much? I mean...
No, just a chance to be alone.
Just walk.
You know, and you knew enough to shut up too, so you just walked along with him. And he'd come back and he'd say, thank you, and then he'd go to bed. That's it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Bing Crosby.
I never worked with Bing. I don't know where that name came from. It don't belong there.
I'm sorry, Bill Cosby.
Cosby.
Bing Crosby.
Ah,
No,
my
wrong
Lord.
way.
Cosby, I'll tell you what kind of guy Cosby was. I was working with Harrah's in Lake Tahoe, and there's a knock on the door. You know, you got your star dressing room, and then you got your co-star, and he was always nice enough to let me have that. You know, just his opening act, not a co-star. And we're in there, and the door knocked, and he opens it up, and he says, hi. You know, that wonderful smile, this guy. He says, you doing anything? I says, no. He says, you alone? I says, yeah. He says, come on next door. You shouldn't be alone. Who does that?
That's amazing. That is amazing. That's great. Okay, how about Tennessee Ernie Ford? You talked about him earlier.
Ern, I guess, between him and Eddie Arnold is my favorite, because Ernie was the most open, lovable, sincere guy I ever worked with. You know, he was just like Eddie, total gentleman and all that. And one of the things he would do when the show, well, let's say we had an hour and a half in Vegas, I'd finish my part, and I'd get ready to go off stage. And depending on his mood, right? It's a Glenn, come back here, get stool, come back here and sit down. And then we'd do 3, 4 tunes. He said, remember this, remember that? And he did all those beautiful little things like Born to Lose, Ain't It Funny How Time Slips Away, and then we'd do Merle Travis songs. Like, you know, he did 16 Tons that Merle wrote, but he'd do 9-Pound Hammer, or he'd do one of the 2 of the hymns, and he was generous with his time.
Wow.
You know?
That must have been great, just
I thought I died and gone to Atlanta.
to Atlanta. Jonathan Winters.
Winters, yes. I was working in Lubbock, Texas, at a little nightclub there, and Winters came in to see the show. He was over at the college, and he walks in and and I walked over and says, what an honor to meet you. He says, you know, you're kind of funny. He says, how'd you like to go to Vietnam with me? I said, when? Tomorrow morning. And so I got the permission from the club owner to go. Next 24 hours later, I woke up in downtown Saigon. Wow. They gave us our shots on a plane, quick as we hit LA, and off we went again. And I did 6 weeks with him and learned more about comedy in that 6 weeks than I have since then. The man was always on. And he could find out your sense of humor, then he'd beat you with it.
Really?
You know, he'd actually, like you're getting, someone had a whip made out of comedy, and you'd find out your sense of humor, whack you with it until you couldn't catch your breath.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the way he was. And he could do that with anyone.
These are great names. Of course, you talked about Andy Griffith. Bob Newhart.
Newhart's an introvert. He didn't talk much. He'd call you in and he'd talk about everything but show business. You know what he talked about with me mostly? The Smothers Brothers and Don Knotts.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was his 2 idols.
Wow.
Yeah, he loved the way Don acted, and he loved the comedy. He couldn't believe that they wrote their own things, and they did. He couldn't fathom that, because he was a writer too.
Now, you've warmed up for a lot of very famous people.
Yes, true.
And that must have really felt good that they chose you, number one. Because apparently they did choose you.
Yeah, I was.
Just an agent doesn't plug you in. Something like
they'd come see you, and they'd see what you do to an audience, and without trying to sound. See, my whole show is for the people. You know, I don't go out and do a performance. I go out and entertain the audience. Mm-hmm. That's my job. And they saw that, and so the best story of that is Jack Benny. He surrounded himself with the finest people in show business, right? And he let himself be the brunt. And they all shone, right? Okay, Jack Benny was the one found Wayne Newton as a teenager. Put him in his act, got him off the ground, and Wayne would go out there and absolutely destroy an audience. His slowest speed that's his slowest speed. I saw him for 4 years, his feet never touched the floor. and whenever the show was over, they'd say, boy, that was a great Jack Benny show. Wasn't that kid good? Well, the stars, the big guys knew this. Ernie Ford knew it. You know, you'd go out there and they'd say, great Ernie Ford show. That little fat fella on the guitar is kind of cute, wasn't he? You know what I mean? They understood the secret was to get the best you could and surround yourself, and that's what made the show.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
So they have me busy all the time trying to be better.
Yeah?
You know?
And apparently you were.
I worked at it.
Yeah.
I worked at it. My job was to take the audience from 0, take it up and get it up to about 60% and hand it to the star and say, there you go. You know, then all he had to do is, him or her, just coast on through the show.
Now, you were telling Don Knotts was the one that found you
Yeah.
and gave you your first break.
Really, yeah, him and Jonathan Winters. Because of Winters, I got a chance to do the Merv Griffin show. His manager, George Spoda, took me back to New York, told Merv about me, and Merv got me on. I did 7 Mervs.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah, and in the process of doing that, wound up as a house MC for the Taft Hotel for over 6 months. That's the first time they ever went country, and every country act and show business came through there, and I got to meet them all.
Oh,
yeah.
Neat.
Tammy Wynette and Willie and the Stoneman family. Even got to sit in one night with Les Paul.
You did?
Yeah. Now that'll make you feel good.
That had to.
Oh, yeah.
With strings.
Oh, yeah. And,
that's something. You knew Willie and Waylon then?
Yes. Willie used to come to all the shows in Dallas. I worked at the executive inn there. And that was the #1 club in Texas and in Dallas. And him and Charlie Pride and a few of the other acts, when they weren't working, they'd pop in there. And you never knew who was going to be there. And if I got a chance, well, I'd get them up on stage, because all that did was let them have a chance to show off, and showed that I knew who they were. You know, that'd make the owner put me back in there again.
You bet. You bet.
So they were.
And you've done commercials?
Yes. Quite a few.
Lots of them.
Enough. Yeah.
Enough. There's never enough. Never enough. We've all seen you on all of the talk shows. We've known you for years. Just didn't put a name to the face.
Well, yeah. They can't. For a while they thought I was Hoss Cartwright, right? And then I became Curly of the Stooges, and now I'm John Goodman. No one's ever got my name yet.
And it's simple.
Yeah,
Ashe.
I ain't asking much.
Ashe.
Yeah,
Glen.
that's my opening line. I says, we'll get the name straight. It's Glenn Ash, and you'll notice I'm a little chunky. There was good reason for that. When I grew up, the high price spread was lard, which just happens to be half of my old nickname.
Yeah, Lord Ashe. That's good. That's good. Well, I could talk on and on with you.
That'd be fun.
You're just down to earth, but you know we have a show to do.
Well, no, not me. I'm going to stay here and talk to you.
Is that it?
No, I can do that show anytime.
And this show tonight is co-sponsored with Golden Rain Foundation, who I work for, and one of our contractors here. And so he'll be out there, and he'll say a few words before I bring you on. And
What's Golden Rain? No one told me.
Golden Rain is Leisure World. It's the overall management of it's just
okay.
an umbrella.
Okay.
Okay, they hire the folks.
I thought it was a CEO getting ready to quit this evening.
Oh,
What, the Golden Rain umbrella?
No CEO's going to quit here. Heavens, we have it made here. This is great up here.
You know, this reminds me of a buddy of mine's got a place down in Palm Springs in Cathedral City. And it's on a golf course similar to this, but this looks a lot more homier.
Well, I bet it's a lot cooler.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hello, because down there it gets warm.
You know.
2 miles from the beach. I mean, you know.
Yes, yeah.
These folks all know about that, though, see, because they all live here, too. A lot of these folks won't be able to make it tonight.
Why, they're at the beach?
No, probably. No.
Well, let's take the show down there. All we need is a long cord.
Some of them are shut-ins, and they watch these little shows and know who I have on here, and maybe next year they'll get up and get out and come and see you.
Yeah, you people don't need to be sitting at home. We got things down here. We're going to sell some jams and jellies when it's over with, and he and I are going to play the spoons. And
War sport.
Yeah.
You get spoons. This group we have sounds pretty good too.
Yes, yeah. Did you know, for the people now that, will the ones that see the show see anything on TV with this tonight? Well, it won't be broadcast, right?
Still legal.
Well, I didn't know. The guy on the steel guitar has got a synthesizer rigged up on that to where the steel sounds like a piano.
Really?
Can you imagine that? How many people that's putting out of work? Every piano man is going around with a big set of scissors trying
Yes,
to
I bet they are. Too.
cut his strings right off.
Well, I could talk on and on, but we won't. We've got to get ready and get going here.
Okay, well, it's fun talking to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you just sitting here and being you.
Did you know that of, let's say, conservatively 5,000 interviews, that you're one of the first guys that ever asked me this many questions that made sense in this amount of time?
I bet you tell them all.
No, I don't do things like that. That's how come I ain't a big star. Okay, have I got time to tell one quick little story?
Of course.
All right. Remember Ewell Gibbons?
Yeah.
Okay, Ewell Gibbons passes on, and they're looking for a guy to take his place. I got the job, right? They want a real happy, round-faced guy, play guitar and be common and talk like that and eat grape nuts flakes. So they give me the thing. I got 90 words a copy to do, and I got to take and play the guitar out of meter with what I'm saying. In the process of all that, take up some grape nut flakes, eat it, and keep talking. So we get about 4 in the can, right? Now they're going to take and go to lunch break, and they're coming back, and you know what they're doing. They're just trying to eat up the client's money to kill the afternoon. So they got me to do it about 3. Would you move your hand like this, Mr. Ashe? Could you do this, Miss? Could you do it? And they're on and on and on. Finally, I just, try to be funny. I says, I don't know what you find so exciting about this. This stuff looks and tastes like kitty litter. And from out of the dark, a voice said, that'll be all, Mr. Ashe. That'll be all.
Did you lose that one?
I was out of there that fast.
That's good. He has a list of friends who I just can't believe. I mean, you talked about Roy Rogers and Tex Ritter.
Yes.
I mean, real icons of their day.
Jim Reeves. Didn't talk about him.
Jim
Knew him.
Reeves,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't put that down because I just knew him. I didn't work with him.
Oh. Well, even if you just know somebody, that's great. But anyway, I'm sure that if you can't make the show tonight, maybe next year we'll have Mr. Ashe back and have him sit here and talk to you again, or you can come and see the show. Appreciate it. You've been with Fred Cooper Backstage. Good night. Good night, Glenn.
Now, Fred.